Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Real Talk with ZTS, where we, as brothers, search for ways to share our voices while having a good time just talking, having those real talk conversations, our shared experiences, and reacting to random topics and articles. As we always say, we all have something to share, and we look forward to sharing and building that community of stories that we can all relate to. Now enjoy the episode.
Yo, what's going on?
Oh, man.
And how is it today?
It is it. No, I'm just kidding. It's good, man. It's been a long day.
Yeah, honestly, man, it is. Yeah, this week. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this whole like month seems like it's not like a shit show per se, right? But I don't know, man. It just seems like things are just tiring. Are we all tired of are we all already fatigued of this year? What's going on?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
That's how it feels,
but
at least.
yeah. Let me see. Yeah, because yeah, it's just been a weird time, especially today, man. Exhausted. I don't know why. I don't feel like overly like, you know, I still feel productive, but it just doesn't feel like, it's just one of those days. Yeah, it's weird that, it's like I think a lot of people, well, by the time you're listening to this, it's probably like a different time. But a lot of people would agree that if we were talking with other people and friends, family, like right now, a lot of people would say, yeah, something weird in the air, something weird in the water cooler, right? Like it's just, yeah, one of those days. But hey, does it get at least we try for it to get better, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's been a
Yeah,
long day for sure.
I know. Well, we'll keep it light today.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no,
I
for
think,
sure. We
yeah,
bring the
I think,
energy when we need to.
yeah, and I think one thing that always brings the juice, um, especially it's been a kind of a, I mean, I wouldn't say overall slow news week, but a lot of things that we probably don't share on record, on recording. So but when I say slow news week, it's not something too entertaining to share, right? It's probably things that a lot of people have already experienced or thought about in their own mind. It's one of those things where when I say slow news week, it's probably some things that um we don't need to share in the moment, our opinions on record. So, this is a relatively slow news week, but one thing that always bring the juice, especially when it's a tiring day, talking about sports, man.
Hmm.
Um, the Olympics are finally over.
Yeah, I just
I,
ended.
yeah. How'd you? I'm not gonna lie, man. This is probably my first full Olympics that I've watched in a while since '08, 2012, right? When during the Michael Phelps and respectively Usain Bolt days, when they're like respectively dominating their sports. I think during that time, like with the women's gymnast team too was also dominating, pre Simone Biles, but right
Yeah, I mean,
or
they've always been decent.
yeah,
Gabby Douglas was kind of like the
yeah, and
person
then
at that point.
what's the other girl's name? Ali.
Oh, Raisman or whatever.
Yeah, was that around the same timeline
Yeah,
back
they were on
in?
the
Yeah,
same team. Yeah.
yeah, I remember that. And I thought they were super amazing. And then you see Simone Biles, and it's just you wouldn't think that it would take it a step further.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that was the first time that I've watched the Olympics in a long time. A lot of people are saying that the viewerships is up. The Olympic Committee and NBC did a really good job in terms of promoting and getting it, which I would say so. They're saying that they were hoping to redo Tokyo because they felt like Tokyo could have gave just as good as of a city performance, but because it was in 2020, right at
Yeah.
the start of pandemic, it didn't really get the attention that it deserves.
Yeah, I know it was definitely one of those things where it was I think it was weird, right? Because obviously it was probably one of the most watched Olympics, if not for
Yeah,
this one, because that's all we could watch. I mean, we were still
true,
kind of in the
true.
pandemic, you know what I mean? Granted, it still happened in what 2021 technically.
Yeah,
Um, but even then it was empty. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there was no one like in the crowds watching
yeah.
anything. So it was like
I
very much of a an athlete bubble, just like the NBA and how all those
right.
things went. So it was just
But
eerie, right?
the NBA capitalized on that though. I mean, to be fair, they can do so because they're an indoor type of deal, and they did the virtual fans type deal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I remember during those days, like you would watch like a huge team, like a soccer team, like Manchester United, right? Like a huge game against two top teams, and it would no one would be in the stands. It was like very very mind blowing to see. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, I would like to see Tokyo redo it again. I thought this was very well done. I haven't been to Paris or France yet, but I thought it was incredible how they showcase the country, or the
Yeah.
city, I guess you could say. But in terms of the culture and stuff, I thought it was really cool. Um, and then I really like how they did the handoff to LA. I thought was really cool as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was cool. I enjoyed the Olympic Games. I didn't watch as many of the um competitions as I thought I was going to, but I still watched
Yeah,
a lot of them.
yeah.
There's just not enough time in the day to
Oh,
catch
there's
up
not.
on
There's
everything.
yeah,
And if you want to watch it live, it was like 2 a.m. our time. So I was like,
yeah.
okay.
No, I watched a lot of the track and field, soccer, basketball, obviously.
Yeah,
Um, I
I
watched
know.
uh I watched the men's final live. I had to watch that because I mean,
Yeah.
like that was yeah, I had to watch that live, and luckily it was like 1 p.m. our time.
And that
Um,
was insane.
it was such a good game, man. I
Game
mean, I'm
was
not gonna lie,
insane.
I we'll get to that in a bit, but the majority of the stuff that I watched was like recorded. So like I didn't really watch everything live,
Yeah.
except for the men's basketball. Going back to the men's basketball, look, man, um, I have like a starting five in mind that everyone has their starting five, right? Everyone who watches basketball or even a fan of it, there's always this question that gets thrown around like who's your top five all time, like your personal top five all time. And for me, um, Kobe and Shaq is on that list. LeBron's on that list for me. But as much as Steph Curry, because I tell you the story many times. I was one of the I was one of the doubters of Steph Curry. I was like, he's too small. He's just a shooter. He's not going to make the league because there was many people before him who were just as great shooters in college who fizzled out in the league immediately. Like I'm thinking of uh who's that BYU guy? Jimmer?
Oh, Jimmer Fredette.
Jimmer Fredette. Yeah, Jimmer Fredette. JJ Redick, like Jimmer
Uh,
Fredette
I was gonna say
fizzled out.
JJ though, he actually like made a long career.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like JJ Redick made a long career, but he wasn't the superstar that like he was coming out of college to be. And I mean, he's the next LA coach. He's done very good for himself. He was a great sixth, seventh man, you know, consistent 3-point shooter off the bench. But he wasn't like killer, right? And Jimmer Fredette, though, I remember watching him BYU. I'm like, man, this guy's shooting from half court consistently. He's gonna be a killer, and then he fizzles out and then disappears. I don't even know where he's at right now. So Steph Curry, just another one doing the same thing in college, and I'm like, well, he's smaller than these other guys. Like, like he's trash, dude. And then obviously he kind of fizzled out in the beginning of his career because of injuries, right? So But when he came back strong, I remember he was just breaking records left and right. And I remember I always tell people my favorite story. I think it was when we were all still in school, and us guys would all get together at happy hour at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we're eating, always having a good time, and the games are on in the background. And I remember a Warriors game was live, and I remember just like from a peripheral, I just kept seeing. I think it was one of the games that he broke the 3-point record for most made in a game or something. But I remember I just kept seeing from my peripheral, some guy just kept shooting it from almost half court in the middle of the game, and not as like not as the clock was running out either, like in the middle of the game, pulling some like Caitlin Clark shit right now, right? But Steph Curry back in the NBA. And that's when I was like, okay, he's fun to watch. He's kind of like the real deal. But anyways, going back to what we're saying, he was never, even with like what he has, 4 rings, 3, 4 rings. Um, and he literally changed the game, the modern game. Everyone wants to shoot threes like him. No kid wants to do the hard work of rebounding or driving to the basket anymore. They just want to be like Steph and just chuck up threes, right? He literally changed the game just like all the greats before him. But he was never in my top 5 until literally last week at the Olympics. Like, it goes to show, why do I keep doubting Steph Curry? I mean, okay, if you put him in the point guard position as, one of the best point guards of all time, you could argue Allen Iverson, you can argue Magic Johnson, you can argue all that stuff. But if you were to create the best 5 of all time, why would you need those guys when you got guys like Michael, Kobe, and LeBron who can do all what those other great point guards can do? But what they all can't do is chuck up a 3 from half court consistently when you need it. And that's Steph. And honestly, after the Olympics, man, I think he's one of my top 5 lineup of all time. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I mean, I've always liked Steph,
Yeah.
honestly. It was one of the things. He was very undersized coming out.
Yeah.
Um,
He was
but
tiny.
yeah, but they built a team around him.
Yeah.
To when he first started. Who was Jason Richardson was on that team? That was when the Warriors.
Monte Ellis.
Yeah, dude, that team was actually kind of low key. It was stacked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, um,
Who's one of my favorite like European centers at the time who didn't get a lot of recognition, but wasn't or maybe he was on the Bucks at the time. Andrew Bogut, you remember that guy?
oh yeah, I think he might have
Underrated.
been. Yeah, he might
I
have been
think
on the
he was
Bucks,
on the
but
Warriors too.
at one
I know
point,
he
I
was on the
think.
Bucks. Yeah, but anyways,
Yeah.
um,
No, I mean, it was one of those things. I think Steph, like, I don't think he ever really fizzled. You know what I mean? But like, I think when he first came in the league, it was just like he still hoisted up shots and everything for a decent like shooting percentage. But I want to say like after his first 2 seasons, or well, the third season I think was the injured season.
yeah,
Um, I don't think I think what was it? He hasn't averaged under 20 points a game since then.
yeah,
Um, but that's kind of when he was coming into his own. Obviously building muscle, putting on some bulk. You had Klay Thompson, and you got your Draymond Green, and you started getting all of your guys in there. So
yeah,
so
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, yeah. You know that meme that a lot of like sports memes that go around where people are like, or maybe it's not even a sports meme, but it's like it's a sport lingo that people apply things to. But it's the meme that's like, I think it started with Shaq, where it was like Shaq was dissing somebody, and then he apologized for it later, where he was like, "I am truly sorry. I was very unfamiliar with your game,"
Yeah, yeah.
And then a lot of people took that out of context and use it in like many different like contextual situations.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I personally am using that right now to Steph Curry. Steph, sorry man, I am so unfamiliar that I was unfamiliar with your game. Um and he has the stats to prove it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He has the stats and he has, I mean, dude, he has um I mean, like, think about it, dude. You he proven that he is one of the best, like one of the best on a team that this Olympic team, right? You have to admit the hierarchy in terms of who is the captain slash superstar. It goes through LeBron. You know, LeBron will get the majority of the ball in his hand at any point in time. When he when he was getting double team, next person in line was clearly Kevin Durant. You know, he was
Hmm.
the next, and then again, like everyone, like sure, everyone assumes like Steph Curry, but then at the same time, you're like, well, anybody can be that third place. It could be Joel Embiid, former MVP, and I'm laughing because everyone's like, well, it could have been Jason Tatum, but former Finals MVP, just won the NBA Finals, and we all know what happened with him. Not his fault, but still we don't know the full story. But he didn't get a lot of playing time, but whatever. So like he could like if you had to argue, like in a vacuum, like before the Olympics were played, you can argue that Steph would not be the number one three, like number third option, right? In terms of the chain of command, it's LeBron, Kevin Durant, and then the third is like even if Kawhi Leonard was still there, he wasn't even a set like number three chain of command. But the Olympics went to show you that Steph Curry could easily be the number one, even with LeBron and Kevin Durant on the team. Um, it goes to show that like he is one of one. If anything, you could sub out Kevin Durant and put him at number three and have Steph be the second chain in command. Because you got to admit, LeBron is he's just too good all around. He's clearly, even by like a nail, is the number one chain in command. But Steph Curry, man, goes to show that if you give it to him or he takes it, he is gonna help you win games. I mean, dude, me and Vanessa were watching it. And you know what? Like France was making a comeback, like they were like down five,
Yeah.
like late in the fourth quarter. And then they gave the ball to Steph. He did his typical pump fake, sidestep, chuck a three. I was like, it's over. It's over. Steph Curry's is hot, is over. And then France came back down, made a bucket. Steph again, nail in the coffin. The his chuck up third 3-pointer that he did over two defenders.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the nail in the coffin. I think that was more of the spit in the face. The nail in the coffin was actually his second three, which was over Wemby, I think. Was his second one?
That was earlier in the game, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But
I mean,
anyways,
he hit literally 4 threes
yeah,
in like 5 possessions. Like
right.
it was like, oh shit.
But his last three possessions, which was back to
Oh
back
yeah.
to back threes. His first one was more of like, he's hot. It's yeah, like you could tell that US has it in the bag. Like, they're a 90% chance winning once he made that first three. The second three, once he made that, I was like, that was it. Like, it's 100% US won when he made that second one. And then he fucked around and just decided to hog the ball and do a fadeaway three over two like forward defenders who were like, obviously taller than them, and made it. And
Yeah.
not even bank shot, dude, like swish. I was like, that was not the nail in the coffin, because nail coffin was the second one. This one was more of like a spit in the face, or like, tea bagging, pretty much, dude.
They
Like
put him
he
to
did
sleep,
not have
man.
to take that shot, dude.
Well, I mean, wasn't he had to. What do you mean?
No, I mean he had to because the time was running
Yeah,
out. But
the shot
like
clock, shot clock.
I meant like he yeah, but I meant like he didn't literally have to make that shot because they were already gonna win. You know what I mean? Um that like for me, that was like the equivalent of like, you know, like in college when you're blowing out a team by like 30, 40 points, and then you
Oh, and you
still
go
do
to
a
you still do
fast break dunk.
the windmill dunk at the end.
Yeah. Like that to me, in my personal opinion, like if I was to argue it, that was the equivalent of like, doing a windmill dunk when you're blowing out a team by 40 points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was still a couple possession game at that point too.
Yeah. But you
Like,
know what I mean though? Like it just felt like the game was over with when Steph
yeah.
started hitting those shots.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Once he got hot, like let him cook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Seriously, Chef Curry, man.
yeah, literally Chef Curry. So I was like, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, do your thing.
You know, me, I'm a collector of cards and I haven't bought in a while. I'm waiting for this new season of football. You know, I'm a collector of football, specifically like Seahawks, but I'm kind of like done. I like, you know me, I had that one very weird run of a few months that I just overly collected, you know, so many cards. And right now I haven't bought anything in like many months. Cause you know, I felt like I got all the cards that I wanted.
Mhm.
Reason, you know, but I'm not gonna lie, after this Olympics, I started looking up Steph Curry cards. It's out of my price range. The cheapest one was like $30. And everything else, dude, it's like in its hundreds and stuff, you know.
Yeah,
Obviously don't do what I do and look up a popular player after they did something amazing, you know,
yeah. I was gonna say
supply and
that's
demand.
just
But
yeah.
I was like, man, I wouldn't mind having Steph Curry. Because
That'll
you know,
be a cool one.
yeah. Because you know, I rarely collect. I don't collect basketball, but there's five players basketball wise that I own. Obviously, I had to own Kobe and Shaq. Um, you know, Kobe was my Michael Jordan growing up. Shaq was is my favorite player still of all time. You know, even over Kobe. I love Kobe, but if I had to choose one person, Shaq is my go-to all the time. And then I had to buy a Wemby card because you know, Wemby is, you know, the future of the NBA, and he did really good during the Olympics. He, you know, speaking of Wemby, I thought he got shut down that game, but he still scored over 26 points.
Yeah, no, he
But
was
it just seemed like he had a quiet game, but then when you looked at it, he actually still kept
he
up.
was fairly dominant, honestly.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
it just
that
felt
was
like
the
yeah,
it felt that way because he was the only one giving them
yeah,
offense in the first half and even down the
yeah,
stretch. But it was just
yeah,
like when he was pulling up and he was pulling up from like a Steph range for a three.
yeah,
I'm like, what the
yeah,
fuck is Wemby? Oh,
dude.
and then he just like nothing. And I was
Yeah,
like,
Wemby. Yeah.
all right,
So
that was nice.
so I bought this like special edition from Topps card from him. Because you know, like me, I'm not really a big fan of basketball too much. I just got back into it because of the Olympics, but there was a really cool Halloween Topps edition of Wemby's rookie card.
Hmm.
So it's his true rookie card, but it was during Halloween when he was dressed as Slender Man.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, dude, you know, I don't give a shit about Wemby right now because I don't care about basketball, but I do want a rookie card, and that's such a unique rookie card. And it's not that rare because you know Topps like made a bunch of him, but for me, that's unique to me. I was like, I gotta have that card. It's a rookie Wemby dressed as Slender Man. I was like, how dope is that? And then I got one of Topps special edition like LeBron James card when he became the number one scorer in history.
Hmm.
So I had to get that one. I bought two. I got one for my brother and myself, and then obviously I had to get Caitlin Clark's card when of the card when she broke the NCAA record this past you know this year.
Yeah.
So I got a Caitlin Clark. I'm looking to get Caitlin Clark actual WNBA rookie. I got to get that one. Um, but yeah, probably my next card that's non-football wise, because I'm for sure going to get more non or football cards because it's just what I collect. Especially with the new fantasy season coming, one of my rules is that if I got a fantasy player that does really well, that constitutes me buying their card. You know,
Yeah. Well, it's
um,
like that pitcher. I don't know if you've seen this article. Who is it? Matt Strom. Is that
that's true.
that
No,
sounds about right? Maybe.
yeah.
So he's a pit. Now that's gonna bother me if I'm wrong there, but it's he's a pitcher, and he there was an article. Sorry, just stuttering. It's been a long day. But he purchases a baseball card
Oh
of
yes,
every player
I
that hits
saw
a
that.
home run off of it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I like that. I was like, damn, that's kind of
Yeah,
cool because he was like, hey, I figured if they're good enough to hit a home run off me, they're good enough to get a baseball card.
yeah. Matt Strom.
Matt
Yeah,
Strom, yeah,
from the Phillies.
yeah,
Yeah, I actually saw that. That was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, dude, like yeah, so like fantasy wise, if I have a player who does really well, because fantasy wise, I don't draft a lot of Seahawk players. Well, I might this year. We'll get to that in a bit, um, but typically, especially during the Pete Carroll era, you don't really draft Seahawk players. And if you're from Washington and you're a Seahawk fan and you play fantasy football at a high level, or not a high level, but competitively,
Yeah.
you know that Seahawk players tend to not do well fantasy wise. They're great in real life, but fantasy wise, it does not translate. And especially during the Pete Carroll era, unless it was specifically Marshawn Lynch, right? Or like specific receivers, Doug Baldwin during the prime, like stuff like that, you avoid Seahawk players. But this year, I might start targeting, more of the players. But yeah, anyways, fantasy wise, like besides that, like you rarely watch other team players, right? So you draft all these random players that do well. And so, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm unfamiliar with your game, but because you helped me win a lot, let me buy this card as as a memory's sake. So that's why, like, I haven't bought anything lately because football season just started. Obviously, I'm gunning for a few rookie cards. Obviously, I want Byron Murphy, from the Seahawks, because I got pretty much all the modern Seahawk rookies. I got all the classic Seahawk players that I've wanted. Like my favorite players is Marshawn Lynch, the Legion of Boom, specifically Richard Sherman. So I got a good collection of Richard Sherman that I spent a good amount of money on. Same with Marshawn Lynch. But yeah, so with these other players, I'm excited to see, who's going to stand out. Oh, obviously Michael Penix. I got to get him just for UW's sake, and Roma Dunze. So I got to get their rookie cards. So
yeah, that'll be good.
have you what'd you think of did you watch the highlights or watch the game, the Seahawks?
Yeah, I watched some of the game.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I forgot we had PJ Walker as our third string. I say third string in quotations here. Because they both looked decent, but apparently, just out of camp and from what I've been hearing, like it's not even a competition. Geno's
like head over here, which is surprising. I thought Sam Howell, I don't know, man. He just regressed so badly.
Regressed, maybe.
Yeah.
But who knows? He's still a second year quarterback.
Yeah, so he's still technically like a rookie pick,
Yeah. He's still young. So
yeah. I was watching like here and there. I didn't really get a chance to catch the game, but I watched the highlights and especially the highlights of the defense, specifically the D line. And so I just found out that is it new or maybe he's been having it, but Richard Sherman has his own podcast, right?
Yeah. He's had it for a bit.
Yeah. But anyways, I just watched a video last night and he was talking because specifically the last couple years, the final years of Pete Carroll, Richard Sherman's been talking a lot of shit about the Seahawks, and the organization, right? Like he's just had this bad taste in his mouth, and you can't blame him,
Yeah.
But he has this bad taste in his mouth. But I decided to play his video. I was a little bored. I was just put it on, and he is speaking very, very highly of this new like organization. Like he's and Richard Sherman doesn't bullshit. He says like what he believes in, and that's why he's one of my favorite players. And he's saying that this organization, especially for the fans, is like pretty special. He's like if they execute how they're supposed to execute on paper, he's saying that this could be a really special team for like a long, long time. He's not saying like we're Super Bowl bound like this year, but he's like for a long time. He's loving McDonald. He's loving that. But then he started talking shit about bear with me. He started talking shit about Byron Murphy. He was like, you paid Draymond Jones, the big cat, what's his name? Leonard Williams, you got Nwosu coming back. and he's like, "Why did you guys waste a pick on Byron Murphy if he's not even listed on the depth chart?" And I was like, "What is he talking about?" But then I realized that this podcast video I was watching was before the preseason game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, "What the fuck is?" I didn't even check the date. I just started watching because it just showed up on my recommendations. So I was like, "Oh, okay, this must be like." And so before he started talking about shit about the D line, he the way he was hyping it up, I thought he already saw the preseason, and so, but then he started talking shit about Byron Murphy about how like you're not even gonna play this guy, so like why did you even draft him so high? But I was like, dude, he dominated in the preseason for the majority of the game. But then I realized that this video was made prior, so I'm like, after he said that, I'm like, he hasn't dropped a new video yet, but I'm sure
Yeah.
he's recording it right now. I'm like, I can't wait to hear what he thinks about Byron Murphy now, because Byron Murphy, dude, damn, look good. The
Yeah.
stats don't show what he did, but if you watch the highlights, especially the ones that specifically reviews his plays,
Yeah.
and you watch him, dude, Aaron Donald-esque.
Yeah.
I'm hyped for him, dude. I'm hyped for the Hawks.
Yeah. I'm just ready for football season to be back.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Don't get me wrong. I love all the sports, but I'm just ready to watch some football. So it was nice to see the game against the Chargers the other day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm
I
excited. I'm
yeah.
excited for that. I'm excited for college football, just all the football.
Yeah.
And then obviously closing out of baseball because that's coming up here in a couple months, and
Mm-hmm.
see what the Mariners are doing. Kind of
Yeah.
been roller coaster of emotions as usual,
Yeah.
as a Seattle fan.
I had the game on mute the other day. They were playing the Mets, and like there was nothing else to watch. The Olympics were over. I just had it on mute because we were doing something. And like I think it was like top of the third or something like that. The Mariners was like up 1-0, top of the third.
Mm.
And then like we just kind of stopped watching it. It's on mute, so we didn't really hear anything. And like I literally stopped watching it. But the TV was still on. And got back to the room, and I looked at the TV, and it was the top of the eighth, and it was 12-1 Mariners. I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool to see, but but I missed it completely, and I didn't bother to watch the reruns because I was like, not into it right now.
That's fair.
Yeah. But speaking of the last conversation, last point of the night, the only article I have related to the rest of our sports talk, which was kind of like op-ed, right? This is the one article I found. Did you hear that Florida International University just approved a deal
Yeah.
to Pitbull for the next, paying him close to 1.2 million a year for the next 5 years so that they could use his name and I think likeness as well for the stadium.
Yeah, he has naming rights.
Yeah. Plus, part of the contract, he gets to produce a song for the stadium as well, or an anthem for the school.
Yeah.
But man, dude, Pitbull he was around our generation, and he came out with songs like Kulo, all this stuff where you were like, it was good, but it's like, you're just gonna be maybe a one hit wonder. And then he like was a bigger businessman and decided to go into pop and venture out into many different things. What was it? One of my favorite like flex interview from him where he was like flexing, and he's a very humble guy. If you listen to interviews, he's very humble, but he was joking with someone kind of half jokingly, but he was like flexing on somebody during an interview. He was like, they were asking him like, what's the biggest contribution you did in your career or your life, and he goes, you made it, you truly made it big when you Google my name and it's the first top search over the actual animal, and it's true. If you Google Pitbull, the dog is second to Pitbull's himself. And so I was like, I Googled it too, because I was like, let me take a look. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's still true. I'm sure it is. Let me see. Pitbull. Yep. He's the number one over the actual dog. And he was and everyone looked it up because they didn't believe him. And they were like, oh shit, that is a flex. And so I remember that, and I'm like, hey man, big ups to Pitbull, because he was actually a really good rapper too. There was a song that I liked from him that I remember I used to know word for word of. It was 305 Anthem. It was off the same album as Kulo.
Mhm.
And honestly, it made me feel like I was from Miami when I rapped that song, because he was rapping about his life growing up in Miami. And it wasn't even like a club song. It was like more of like a deep philosophical song. But I remember I used to know the lyrics word for word, and that was like one of my favorite songs from him. And then he stopped rapping, and he was really good as a rapper. And he stopped rapping and just went to pop music. And hey, man, can't knock the hustle. He did amazing. And he's still doing amazing. And by the way, he is the first musical artist. Not even Taylor Swift has a school named after her yet or anything, you know? So Pitbull is the first musical artist to get naming rights to a major university, you know?
Yeah. Taylor Swift just has a class named after her, which is
A class.
crazy. Yeah, in college, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got for tonight. Keep it nice and easy. Good little lighthearted fun. Good catching up with you. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up and call it good night?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think I'm chilling, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, same, man. Well, thank you. Thank you for our listeners again. Hopefully you enjoyed this short and sweet ride. Not a lot of cool articles to share today, but hopefully you enjoy our opinions on sports and stuff, like like our favorite go-to. But as we're signing off, we like to end with our favorite saying, keep talking with each other, keep thinking, keep growing together. Even when we have nothing to say or nothing to talk about, when we speak openly with each other, we make magic happen. So continue to talk with your loved ones, and we'll see y'all next time.